For one final time this season, we welcome you live outside Gate 4 at Apogee Stadium. We are Mean Green Game Day one last time as we lead you up to the North Texas Mean Green versus the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. And I'm joined here at the desk by the usual crew, Drake Lawson, Josh Conrad, Travis Buckner. Travis Buckner's final show here at Mean Green Game Day.
Bittersweet.
Bittersweet moment, of course, but it was all bitter last week. Let's just go into that. North Texas on the road against Western Kentucky got pretty much destroyed, for the lack of a better term. I love my Mean Green, but it was not a good outing last week. 45-7 the final score. I want to get into some of the negatives first. We'll get into positives later on, but right now, what really went wrong, Drake, last week against Western Kentucky?
Well, what went wrong is Jeffrey Wilson, right before the game got started, was determined that he was going to be out of the game. This was their first game really without him this year. They game planned, of course, to possibly go without him. But, game planning only gets you so far. When you actually play a game without your stud, your star player, a leader of this team, I think it not only affected the way they play the game, but like their chemistry, their heart, their soul. He means a lot to this team. Him being out really made them suffer, I think, on both sides of the ball. And, it showed early on. And Western Kentucky is good. We can't forget this. They're a great team, and, they're hard to beat on the road.
I think it started for me right at the beginning of the game. The first drive, you have Western Kentucky, 2nd and 13. Two guys are swarming the quarterback. They're about to get the big sack. Mike White somehow avoids those guys, throws it downfield, wide open receiver. It's a touchdown for Western Kentucky. Just that type of demoralizing start to the game. You think about maybe we get the sack, maybe it's 3rd and 20, maybe we get a stop, offense gets the ball back. But I just think that demoralizing start was too much to overcome for this team.
It's like Drake said. Jeffrey Wilson was out. He's one of the leaders on this team. He's been taking most of the rushes this year. And then Mason Fine goes out on the 4th drive. He was only 3 for 9 passing to begin with, and then he gets hit right there inside their own 20. He fumbles it, and he's out for the rest of the game with a shoulder injury. So whenever two of your key offensive players are out, your defense has to step up because something's got to happen, and your defense has to step up. And they just didn't do it. Mike White only completed 14 passes, but he had 4 touchdowns off of those passes. He had one for 64 and one for 74 yards, so he was throwing bombs all game long. And then their running back as well, Anthony Wales, carried it 18 times for 121 yards. So nobody on the defense stepped up whenever they needed to.
And really going back to what Josh said and the initial play that really set the tone for the rest of the game, you got to take the crowd out of it, especially on the road, and that just wasn't able to happen for North Texas. 400 passing yards for Western Kentucky and 214 on the ground as well. That's just a dual threat attack that you can't give any kind of leeway to, and they just did that all day long.
And especially when you're the less talented team going on the
Exactly.
road, you can't get down early because guys you're gonna try to tackle a little bit less. It's gonna be like, oh man, we're already down by 14. What's the point of going for this extra pass or going for this extra tackle? It's just everything mental, I think, went wrong for them. And they can't have everything go wrong mentally when you're the inferior athletic team going in.
Well, not only that, North Texas struggles. This year, whenever they are losing at halftime, they're 1-6. They've won every game that they're leading at half, but they've lost almost every single game when they're losing at half. Yeah. So this is a young team that isn't used to coming back, and especially, like you say, when you're on the road and you're a big underdog like they were in that game. I think that's what killed them, was just that beginning.
I think if it was not Western Kentucky, if it's not the number 1 seed in our conference, then maybe things don't go the same way. Maybe it's not, as ugly as it was. And 45-7 was the final. Maybe it would be, 35-7, 28-7, something. But when you're going up against the number 1 seed in your conference, you're already going into the game knowing that they're better than you are, and that's just not a good thing mentally to think about going into the game.
I'm a little concerned about our offense right now because when's the last time we saw this offense come out and have a good performance in a game?
Probably since Marshall.
Or maybe Army. Yeah. It's just we haven't seen this offense come out. And
they did play well against Army.
They played well, but what's their identity right now? I just feel like it's an offense lacking in identity.
And whenever we get into we're going to continue this discussion in our next segment, but we want to talk about Mason Fine and his injury update, but I also want to give a personal shout out as we head to break here on our first segment of Mean Green Game Day. My little sister, Miranda Yeomans, signed to play volleyball here at North Texas next season. She'll come in as a middle blocker and a right side hitter. I'm very proud of her. Wanted to give her a little bit of a shout out as we give our last broadcast here for the day. And as we head into this break, I'll let her take us out into commercial right now.
My name is Miranda Yeomans, and you're watching Mean Green Game Day.
Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. I want to get back into this discussion about last week's game against Western Kentucky. We talked about some of the negative things that happened, but I want to start with you, Josh. What were some positives that North Texas got out of last week's beatdown in Western Kentucky?
Well, we outgained them 330 to 86 in punting yards. So,
That's not what I meant, Josh.
Wait, so we had more punting yards than we had offensive yards?
Oh, no.
Man, I didn't catch that.
You guys are the worst. Give me something real, Travis.
Okay.
Give me some real positivity here.
Well, Mason Fine went out, fourth series. Alec Morris came in, and he actually really impressed me. He hasn't played. He played in the Bethune-Cookman game, where he went 4 for 11 with 13 yards and a pick. He started the season against SMU, and he threw 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. But against Western Kentucky, he finished 14 for 26, which is better than 50%, so that's not too bad. 108 yards and a touchdown. So he really impressed me, and I feel like if he's the starter today, which very possibly will be, he can use that momentum going into today's game.
And that's all without Jeffrey Wilson.
Yeah, all without
exactly.
with Willie Ivory. So
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to go into. Jeffrey Wilson's hurt. Mason Fine is hurt. We may or may not see him in the game today. That's still an undecided decision here. But I really want to go into maybe what are the bowl chances with both of those guys out, starting with you, Drake. Is there a chance? You have to win both of these last 2 games.
Yeah, you do. You have to win. And here's my bold prediction that I'm going to go out with. I think that Alec Morris, if he does play, if Mason Fine can't play, which is a big possibility, if Alec Morris plays, he will play good. He will play the
well.
best. Yes, play well. He will play well. My fault. Grammar is just. He will play well. He will play the best game that he has played here at UNT because he is a senior. This is his last chance. He came here after spending his entire career at Alabama. This is his 5th-year senior. He has to play well. I mean, this is his last opportunity. He already didn't play well at the beginning of the season. He has to play well now, and I mean he's going to play his tail off. I mean, if they want to make a postseason of any sort, they've got to win these final 2 games. This is his last chance to send out his college career with a little bit of a bonus, a little bit of a, hey, I'm not just the guy who sat on the bench at Alabama. I'm a guy who made a difference at a team when I transferred for my 5th year. And this is your last chance to play football really ever in his life.
Absolutely.
And he knows that going into this game. And I think he's going to play fantastic. And I think if he continues into the UTEP game, I think he'll play very well there as well.
The pressure's off Morris.
Yeah.
When he came in, he was kind of the golden child. He was the savior of this program.
Right.
It was all the pressure was on him. So maybe in that SMU game, he was pressing a little bit. That's why maybe his passes weren't as on. Now there's no pressure on him. He lost his job to a true freshman. He's coming in here. No one expects anything except maybe Drake. But, I mean, all the pressure's off him. I just think he can come out a little bit looser. And the offense wasn't doing that great with Fine anyways. I've been one of the biggest Fine supporters up here. Maybe too much. But it's not like our offense was humming along. It was in the 18s, the 17s. So maybe a quarterback change can maybe spark it up a little bit. And for an opponent to prepare for both of them instead of just one, maybe that's another wrinkle. I think Morris plays well tonight.
Alec Morris literally has nothing to lose. He's got to go out here and he's got to play out of his mind tonight. He's got nothing to lose. He's been on the bench all year.
You got no one else to put in now.
Exactly. Well, Chambord, but who knows who Chambord is. And another thing going into this game, we're not the only one with quarterback issues right now. Last week, Nick Mullins did not play for Southern Miss with a concussion, and he's questionable for today. So if Nick Mullins doesn't play, there's a very good chance that North Texas takes the advantage of that freshman quarterback that comes in and plays for Southern Miss. And that's the case. We win today, win next week, we're in a bowl game.
And one thing I really want to keep an eye on for Alec Morris in this game tonight is interceptions. You already talked about it. You talked about it already. Just throwing the ball to the receiver and not to the other team. If he can keep his interceptions down, I think he can be efficient and run this offense better than he had in the previous games that he's played in.
They got to give this defense a chance.
Exactly.
We have surprisingly a pretty good defense this year. We need to give them a chance to play with good field position for them.
And kind of moving on, we've talked about the replacement for Mason Fine. Now let's talk about the replacement for Jeffrey Wilson, Willie Ivory. Can he fill the void of Jeffrey Wilson, who really was the anchor of this offense so far this season?
Filling a void's a little bit far, I think, because I mean, how good Jeffrey Wilson was having, how good of a season Jeffrey Wilson was having. But Willie Ivory has played well this season. I mean, he's got 281 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, he's a great, screen pass running back. He's very quick. He's fast. I don't think he's going to necessarily lead the offense, but he's another guy like you guys keep talking about with Alec Morris playing for nothing. I mean, Ivory's he's out there. He's not supposed to be the guy. So I mean, he's going to do the very best that he can. It's senior day out here today. They're playing for the seniors that they have on the team. Alec Morris is playing his last game, home game. And I think they're going to play their tails off. I don't think Ivory's going to be necessarily as good as Wilson, but I mean, I really expect them to get out there and play the best game that they've played this season.
And Andrew Tucker had the 71-yard run last week for our only score. Maybe he steps into that Willie Ivory role as a backup running back. So I think Tucker's a guy to keep an eye on this week.
Okay.
I mean, if y'all think back to the Rice game, Willie Ivory had 3 of those touchdowns. So without Willie Ivory, we're not even sitting in this position right now.
Right.
And I think that if you look at Jeffrey Wilson and Willie Ivory, Wilson's more of the thunder back because he's a bigger back. He can break more tackles with his legs. But then Willie Ivory's, he's much faster, he's much shiftier, and so I think Willie Ivory just needs to use his game, not Jeffrey Wilson's game, his own game to get through that line and get into the end zone.
And you talked about senior day. How about Eric Kenya's senior day today? He should get the biggest applause in this stadium. He is our best player.
Hey, Trevor Moore has not missed a single extra point in his entire collegiate career.
Wow, that's pretty
Set a
impressive.
record.
So we got our special teams going pretty well, but other than that, we'll get into some conference outlook in just a little bit when we come back here on Mean Green Game Day. Welcome back to Apogee Stadium. We are Mean Green Game Day, taking you all the way to the North Texas Mean Green as they take on the Southern Miss Golden Eagles here on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. It feels super nice outside, but I want to get into some Conference USA talk. We haven't talked about them in the last couple of shows, but I want to get into what has happened lately so far this season. If the season were to end today, who is your best team in the conference? I want to start with you, Travis.
Well, that's a pretty tough question. I mean, it's really close between Western Kentucky and Louisiana Tech, and it just so happens those are the teams we've played the past 2 weeks. I mean, Western Kentucky's 8-3. They played against Alabama in like the second week of the season, I believe. They're 6-1 in conference. Their only loss was to Louisiana Tech, which is the other team I think is really well. They only lost by 3 points. But I mean, Mike White has just been absolutely dominant. I mean, he's had 28 touchdowns and over 3,300 yards. And while doing that, only 5 interceptions. And then on the running side, you got Anthony Wales, who's got over 1,000 yards for 18 touchdowns. So I mean, it's hard to argue that they're not the best team in the conference, but then Louisiana Tech beat them. So Louisiana Tech's got Ryan Higgins, and they've got Carlos Henderson at receiver. It's too tough to tell, but I'm going Western Kentucky with the best team in the conference.
I mean, I think I'm going to have to disagree here, but I mean, you're hitting it right on the head with it. Those two teams being the best teams in the conference, but I think La Tech is the better team. They beat Western Kentucky. Not only that, they had a dismal start to the season, and they've won 7 straight games, I believe. They have a huge winning streak. They're playing unbelievable football, and not only that, they beat UNT pretty bad here at home with homecoming. Lots of momentum in that game. North Texas was playing their tails off. They really did play a good game. But
Especially in the first half.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but La Tech is that good, and I mean, I really do think they are the best team in Conference USA.
You guys both made really good points. I'm going to have to go with Drake here, though. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I just think Louisiana Tech, the athletes on that team, are so good. Ryan Higgins brings them all together. It's a team that even with the backup quarterback was able to go into Fayetteville and give Arkansas a good game.
Yeah.
I think that team's the best team right now. They've beaten Western Kentucky. I think they're going to win the conference in the title game in a couple weeks. So I'm going to go with Tech.
Yeah, they've already clinched that title game berth as well.
It's just odd because Middle Tennessee beat Louisiana Tech. It's just been a weird season. It's kind of like whenever, I think it was 2008 when Texas beat OU beat Tech beat OU, and then Tech beat Texas. It was just a weird season.
Yeah.
Watch out for Old Dominion, 5-1 in the conference.
Yeah,
They got the
yeah,
two running back
exactly.
system going.
Yeah, Old Dominion's looked good as well, but I also want to go into who's the best player in the conference right now. If I had to give my own opinion, it would be Henderson from La Tech. You've already mentioned his numbers, and really just watching him live here on the field a couple weeks ago, he was incredible from beginning to end, and I was really impressed by him.
I mean, I think Josh mentioned it early, Higgins.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really led this La Tech team. I mean, they struggled at the beginning. He was part of the struggle, but they've really gotten their game together as they moved down the season, and I think he's the best player in Conference USA.
Well, besides Mason Fine, I'm going to have to go Aaron Jones, the running back from UTEP. He's averaging over 7 yards a carry, has 1,397 yards, and 13 touchdowns. UTEP's having a miserable season, but he's been a big bright spot for me.
I like what you said about Carlos Henderson. He's a receiver. He's got 16 touchdowns this year, 5 against North Texas whenever they played here. But Ryan Higgins from Louisiana Tech, he's got the most passing touchdowns and most yards as a quarterback in Conference USA. And Anthony Wales has the most touchdowns by a running back. He would have the most yards, but he didn't play the second half against UNT last week. So that's the only reason he's not leading in yards as well. So those are my 2 best players in the league right now.
And then now I want to get back into some maybe UNT themed Conference USA talk. No pressure on this because Wren Baker's watching our show off to the side. He'll join us up here at the desk for the prediction segment later on, but no pressure here. What does North Texas and UNT have to do to truly compete in Conference USA in the next couple of years?
I think you keep Seth Luttrell and you keep this new Denton movement. I mean, it's working. I mean, most people besides Travis Buckner, who picked them to go 7-5, didn't expect them to have the hot start that they had.
Yeah.
I mean, injuries have plagued them these past couple of weeks, and they've also gone against the 2 best teams in Conference USA.
Exactly.
We can't forget that. We stick with his plan. He has a full recruiting class that he's going to bring in next year, and you build this up. Mason Fine's young. You got a lot of other young players proving themselves, and I think you just stick with the process, and that's all UNT needs to do.
You said Wren Baker's watching. I'm still scared from last week, but I think you got to pay the man. Whatever Luttrell wants, get him. If he wants a little hot tub in his coach's office, give him that. Give whatever he wants, give it to him. But we just need better athletes. We saw that last week at Western Kentucky. We're not going to compete in this conference at the top level until we get better athletes on both the defensive and offensive side of the ball. We need playmakers at receiver. I don't think we have a standout receiver this year. We had Carlos Harris last year who made all these plays. I think that's why the offense is where it's at right now, kind of in a standstill, because we can't take that next leap, the next level with this Graham Harrell, Luttrell offense without some dynamic receivers. I think that's the most important thing right now for North Texas to get.
I think absolutely no question this team is 100 times better than it was last year. Seth Luttrell's come in here with practically nothing and turned it into a 4-win season so far, about to be a 6-win season, just so y'all know. But I mean, Mason Fine's coming here, and the thing I noticed is they need to stay consistent, because some games you don't even know the team is playing out there, they're playing so well. And then the next week, we don't know who's playing because they're playing so poorly. So they play consistently, like they did against Marsh, like they did against Army. This team could go places. I think it will.
And with that being said, the improvement from last year to this year has been uncanny already so far. Could next year, 2017, realistically be a title type year, a Conference USA title type year for UNT, or is it going to take a little bit longer?
I don't think you want to go around parading that, we have a title chance, because we were underdogs this year, so you like that. It's always good to be like an underdog, to people to not take you as seriously, so that way you really do sneak up and surprise people.
Kind of like an Old Dominion mindset from this year.
Exactly, and it's a possibility, but you don't want to go out and say, they are title favorites, or they are in title contention. Let's just wait and see. I think we do have a good chance, but let's not go around and parade it.
I'd give us a couple more years. 2018 could be the year.
I said next year we have a winning record, make a bowl game, but not quite bowl or conference champions. We need at least 2 more years, I think.
All right, I think we have a good chance of doing that in the next couple years as well. When we come back here on Mean Green Game Day, we'll get into a national outlook and see what's going on around the country here in college football on Mean Green Game Day. Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day, live outside Apogee Stadium. And guys, I want to get into the national outlook and really get into what happened last week in college football. It was upsets all over the place. I think 4 top 10 teams fell, and it was 2 through 4. Washington, Clemson, and then Michigan all fell last weekend. What happened during those games that really let that happen?
College football happened, guys. Welcome to college football. We've been waiting for a week like this. This whole year it's been like, these Clemson, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama were the dominant teams. Washington was up there with them with their strong performance throughout the Pac-12. But, at some point it's going to happen. At some point the big teams are going to fall, and that's what we saw happen. And it actually didn't affect the standings at all, which was surprising to a lot of people.
It was weird.
But, that's what happens. You have close games. Clemson had a real close game. Michigan had a real close game. And USC is a really good team that Washington played. I think a lot of people were sleeping on USC, and it happens.
We talked about it. What happened, but not a lot. Everything's kind of the same.
Yeah.
You can lose this and still stay in. We talked about it earlier this week. It's kind of the new playoff system where you can lose a game and you're still in it. Every game maybe isn't as important as it was, but the chaos we have going forward is insane. What could happen this Thanksgiving weekend on Black Friday? All the scenarios. I got a migraine trying to figure it out earlier today. I tried typing it in my notes, but my notes were like 100 pages long. It's just all these scenarios that could happen are crazy to me.
My biggest question is, how can 2 teams in the top 4 get beat by unranked teams and still be in the top 4?
Who are you going to put there?
Yeah.
I don't know, but somebody else.
There's no one to move up.
So but you put Louisville there, and they just lost.
I didn't.
Yeah,
It's
true.
They got
there,
they got beat this
lost.
week. But Michigan and Ohio State, I'm not too. Michigan staying in the top 4, I'm not so upset about, because they're going to play Ohio State in 2 weeks or next week, anyways.
Yeah.
So one of those 2 teams is going to be out. I just don't see how Clemson can get beat by an unranked team and stay in the top 4. I feel like there should be some kind of punishment for that.
What, are you going to put the team that lost to Clemson ahead of them? Are you going to put a 2-loss team up there?
Put Central Michigan up there. They're undefeated. Why not?
Western
Michigan, whatever.
Yeah.
Western Michigan.
Nobody knows who they are.
Here's my question,
exactly.
though. A lot of people have been talking about Michigan and Ohio State. Even if one of them loses, they both still make it. If the game is that close and both of them blow out the rest of the teams they play this year.
Okay, so if Ohio State beats Michigan, Penn State wins out, then Penn State's in the Big Ten title game. Let's say you have an 11-2 Penn State and an 11-1 Ohio State. Do you go with the head-to-head? Do you go with the Big Ten champ that beat them? Or do you go with Ohio State, who we all can sit up here and say Ohio State is better than Penn State, right? We all agree on that?
Yeah.
Who do you go with?
I take head-to-head. I don't want to see
We need to go back to computers. Give them a formula, type it out, give me 4 teams. I'm fine
I don't think you do that.
You might be in the minority in that,
I love
that
the
discussion.
If you do that, Louisville would have been number 2, number 3.
No, the resume. Louisville's resume is awful. Even worse now.
I'm
Yeah,
just
it's really bad now after
it's
the loss
very
to Houston,
bad.
of course.
They're not making the college football playoff.
No, not at all.
Now, with that being said, and all of this happened, it seemed like before last weekend, Washington, Michigan, those guys, and even really Clemson too, especially Michigan and Washington, they almost seemed unbeatable. Those guys seemed really, really, really strong throughout the entire season, and then they faltered last week. But
We were a curse with our masks. All the
Yeah,
coaches
you're right.
lost.
Yeah, exactly. But that's funny. I didn't even realize that one. But I want to kind of turn it around. Who so far is outside of the top 10 that even remotely has a shot? Because these standings are going to change every week. Who has a shot to somehow make it into that top 4?
West Virginia guys? Anybody want to grow a little Mountaineer beard?
If they beat OU, it's today, right?
That's a big
I'm
game
going to say
tonight.
beat OU convincingly,
Yeah.
too. Because,
Yeah.
the Big 12 is not looked at as serious as these other conferences, as the Pac-12, as the Big 10, as the SEC. They'd rather take, a 2-loss team from the Big 10 or the SEC.
So do you go with okay, so let's go Utah. They're 8-2 right now. If they win out, they'll be 11-2. They'll have beaten Colorado
Yes.
to win the South. They'll beat Washington in the Pac-12 or Washington State.
That's
If
two
they're-
top 10 teams
If they're
already.
11-2 versus a 11-1 West Virginia team,
You take Utah.
I take Utah.
Exactly.
I think Utah would have a better resume. So yeah, maybe
you
not
just-
West
did
Virginia.
you just change your
I'll take Utah.
Even with that being said, West Virginia, they would have beaten Oklahoma State, who's number 12 right now. You have Oklahoma, who's up there in the top
10.
contention. Yeah, top 10. I couldn't remember their exact ranking, but they're up there as well. That's 2 quality wins. You got Baylor, who continues to falter, unfortunately, for my own preferences, being a Waco kid. But at the same time, West Virginia, they have a strong resume, but like you said, the Big 12 just not looked at the same. But why is that? They have these teams up there competing, including West Virginia
Have you
themselves.
seen Kansas play a football game this year? Kyle?
No, I have not.
Yeah.
They
It's
had,
not
they
very
had,
great.
the, they had the camouflage, a kick returner in the end zone last week. That's how
Let's
bad
pretty
also, let's
ridiculous.
also remember Oklahoma, who's like, the star child of
Yeah.
the Big 12. You saw what Ohio State did to them at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a mess. And Ohio State, they're looked at as a top, team. When a team beats you that bad at home, I think, and that's the best team in the conference. That whole conference is looked at a little differently.
OU
Now-
is a 2-loss team, and they're in front of West Virginia, who's in the same conference, and
It's
West
a
Virginia has
one-loss
one loss.
That's just disrespect,
Yeah.
really, from the committee. Really,
Well, let's see what happens
today.
tonight.
Yeah, it's
because
true.
If OU
That's also
kills
true.
West Virginia.
And we're going to predict that game later. We'll get to talk about that
little
one a
teaser.
little bit more. But I want to talk about our 3 Heisman contenders right now. Your top 3. Who are you going to give it to if the season were to end today? I know a certain game on Thursday night really shook this up quite a bit because Lamar
bit.
Jackson did not play very well. I want to start with you, Josh. Who are your top 3 Heisman contenders?
Can we go back in time this year and give it to someone from a previous year who should have gotten
No,
it?
we can't.
instead of-
No,
no,
that's-
we
that's
can't.
not-
All right.
that's not gonna
Well, I
happen.
think one, it has to be Lamar Jackson. The guy's ridiculous. His stats are crazy. And this is what really got me on him. I was looking at the top running backs, top rushing leaders, and I was looking at Deontay Foreman, who's my second guy right now. The next top guy from a Power 5 conference was Lamar Jackson at 6th place. So it's just crazy what this guy can do. Statistically, I think he gets it. He hasn't had a Heisman moment, which I think opens it up these last couple weeks. I think Lamar is first. I think we all have Lamar first.
Yeah.
And second, Dante Foreman. The guy's been incredible. He's carried Texas. He's trying to save Charlie's job. Maybe. Crazy stats, 6.7 yards per carry. He has a true freshman as a quarterback, which should mean he's not going to be as good of a runner. And then third, how about Luke Falk from Washington State? Don't laugh. Luke Falk. You're going to know him on Black Friday. He's completing 73.9% of his passes. Huge game against against Washington. He's going to get the Cougars to the Rose Bowl. Watch out for Luke Falk.
I agree with Josh. Number 1 for me is definitely Lamar Jackson. He's got 28 passing touchdowns with another 19 rushing touchdowns. So this guy has more touchdowns, he's responsible for more touchdowns than anybody else in the country right now. But his biggest problem is ball security. He fumbled it, I think, twice against Houston in their loss. And the whole time I was watching the Houston game, he let him down the field, and I was like, you know what? If he comes back and wins this game, then there's no
They were
doubt.
locked up.
There's
Heisman
no way.
winner.
There's no way he doesn't get the Heisman Trophy this year. But then he didn't come back and they didn't win it. Then I've got Deshaun Watson as my number 2 guy. He's got over 3,000 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, but he's also got 13 interceptions. That's his biggest problem is throwing interceptions. And this week he had 500 passing yards, but he still threw 3 interceptions. There's that interceptions that come back again. And his team has a better record than Louisville, which is where Lamar Jackson plays. So, and I think the committee will look into that. And I've also got Deontay Foreman.
Good pick.
He's got over 1,600 yards this year with 13 touchdowns. and he's got 11 consecutive games over 100 yards.
It's just exciting to watch.
Broke
Okay,
Earl
so
Campbell's
we're
school
running
record.
out of time here real fast, and I want to move on to Drake. I know you have a different opinion, and I want you to get it out real fast.
Well, I'm not sure if the graphics are going to be correct for me because I did change my opinion
Okay.
a lot after Thursday night. I'm not going with Lamar Jackson. He has now failed in 2 games where they needed him to step up, and he didn't play well. He didn't play well at all on Thursday night. That may be blamed on his offensive line. I'm not sure what you blame it on, but the top candidate for the Heisman, in my opinion, is Deshaun Watson. And you go head-to-head with Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson. Who won the game? Deshaun Watson won the game. You can say it's a
Well,
better
Clemson
team,
won the game.
but he led them down the field and won the game. Deshaun Watson also, in their one loss, had 70 pass attempts, 50 completions, and he threw for 500 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. If you look at their passing stats, both of them have over 3,000 yards passing. One more touchdown pass for Lamar Jackson because he's played one more game. Rushing stats is the only difference between these two, and I think head-to-head is better than rushing stats in that fact. So I go with Deshaun Watson 1, Lamar Jackson 2, and Jabril Peppers. I think you guys are forgetting about a little bit of defense. He's the best defensive
two-way player,
so I'll give him the third. But that's what I go with.
So it's become a weekly thing that Drake decides to
Goes on these
go on a
tirades.
rant and just to go on a tyrant as we run out of time. I just want to tell you, watch out for D.D. Westbrook, the wide receiver from Oklahoma. He's putting up some pretty crazy numbers as well. When we come back here on Mean Green Game Day, we will get into a little bit of a preview for Southern Miss as they take on the Mean Green here at Apogee Stadium in just a couple of hours. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. Tonight, the Mean Green take on the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. Southern Miss comes into this one 5-5 on the season. They're looking for a bowl-eligible victory tonight against North Texas. It's a pretty important one for them, even though they have 2 games left on their schedule. They turn around and play La Tech next weekend for their senior night in Southern Miss. So, guys, I want to get into this real fast. What are you looking for from the Golden Eagles on that other sideline across from the Mean Green this afternoon?
You want to go first? Okay, I'll go first. Well, I think Southern Miss, they're going to be playing hard as well. I mean, this is towards the end of the season. You know, they're going to be playing for their quarterback that's hurt. I mean, he may play or may not play.
It's questionable.
Yeah, questionable. You know, they've had a rough losing streak lately. They've lost 2 games that a lot of people thought they should have won between Charlotte, Old Dominion. You know, they had a better start to the beginning of the season, but they've really started struggling now. So they need to pick up a win. This is, you know, a little bit of a trap game for them, but they're looking to make a bowl game as well, just like UNT is. And this is a game that they really feel like they need to win. And, you know, they're going to come out and they're going to play for their bowl chances. You're going to see a good team.
It's interesting for Southern Miss. They've been bowl eligible for 20 of the past 23 seasons if they can do it this
Right.
year. And so this is such a consistent program. Brett Favre went there. They've got all the Pro Football Hall of Famers we talked about earlier. And, I mean, they were our pick. I think most of us up here had them to win the Conference USA this year.
Yeah.
They started with that Kentucky game. I mean, to go on the road there, they came back from down 25. And then they almost beat Troy. It really fell apart for them against UTSA when they just got demolished by it. And it's turnovers with this team. Every game, every box score I looked at for them, it was the big turnovers in the game, and they just, for some reason, don't take care of the football, and they don't get turnovers. They never seem to create turnovers. I think that's a great matchup for us because when we've done well, it's been creating turnovers and capitalizing off that.
I think my picks are kind of conditional because we're not sure if Nick Mullins is going to play today. But
That's
if
true.
he doesn't, Keon Howard is the name of the backup quarterback. He's a true freshman. Played last week. He had 4 fumbles whenever he was playing. He had 98 yards rushing, 230 yards passing with 1 interception and 1 touchdown. So this is one of the key players for sure if he's the starting quarterback for the Golden Eagles. And on the defensive side of the ball, we've got Antoine Denurius, something like that. He's leading the team right now with 66 tackles, and he's one bad dude. So you got to watch out for him on the defensive side of the ball.
And I'll piggyback with you on the defense. Dylan Bradley has 7 sacks on the year. He has 14 tackles for a loss. That's the guy that our O-line needs to look out for tonight.
But, I mean, they really need this game. Like I was mentioning, you know, they go against La Tech for their last game of the season. 2 of us up here had La Tech as the best team in Conference USA. So if they want to make a bowl game, they're looking right at this game. They need to win this game on the road to be able to make a bowl game. But, you know, I mean, so is North Texas. North Texas is looking to make a bowl game, too. They've got to win both of their games to have a chance at a bowl game. So, I mean, this is basically a playoff matchup. I mean, this is fighting for postseason right here. Both these teams, it's going to be a great game.
And it's interesting, the quarterback situations for both teams are basically reversed. You have Mason Fine, the true freshman, a little hurt right now, questionable for the game, being replaced by a senior in Alec Morris. And then on the other side, Southern Miss, a senior in Nick Mullins is getting replaced questionable for the game, and his replacement would be Keon Howard, who is the true freshman. So it's a reversed situation from what North Texas and Southern Miss both have to deal with. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. But I'm going to move into North Texas real fast. What are some offensive keys to the game for UNT tonight as they hope to keep their bowl chances alive?
I mean, I think it starts with receiving core. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. I mean, I've already mentioned, if I think it's Alec Morris, I think he'll play good.
Yeah.
I think he'll play well. I think he's going to play well. But either quarterback, you have to have your receiving core step up, which we've seen them step up in some games, and then they fade away in other games. Where's Kenny Byers at? We need him. Where's Thaddeus Thompson? We need you. T. Gorey, we need you. We need all these receivers, Turner Smiley as well, to step up and really have a good game if we want to win this game.
First quarter scoring this year for Southern Miss, it's been 108-76 in favor of their opponents. So if we can get off to a good start, this team is vulnerable early. We need to get off, get a big lead, and just let our defense do their thing.
Today's matchup is all about who wants it more. Like you said, whoever wins this will most likely go to a bowl game. And so I think it's like you said, the receiving core has got to step up, but also Willie Ivory needs to step up. He's been more of the backup all season long, but he's stepped up whenever his number's been called. And so if he has a good game today, that opens up tons of things for Alec Morris. Alec Morris can feel more comfortable in the pocket, and I pray to God he can put some zip on the ball today instead of throwing floaters all game long.
It's going to be interesting to watch, and I want to point out a specific player to really keep an eye on, and I want to say it's Keyshawn McClain up the middle for the Mean Green.
Oh, yeah.
If they're able to stop Ito Smith, who's their junior running back, he's a smaller guy, 5'9", but at the same time, if Howard is the starter for Southern Miss, they're going to keep the ball in the flats. They're going to throw a lot of it outside the numbers, really trying to just get it into the receiver's hands and letting them make a play on our secondary. So if Keyshawn McClain in the middle of this North Texas defense, along with, say, Joshua Wheeler has a good game, or somebody like that can step up, it could really pay a huge dividends for North Texas tonight.
Like with La Tech, when Keyshawn went out, how did we do?
Yeah, the game kind
Exactly.
of
It went downhill.
Right. So,
You're
he's the soul of this defense, and he's a great player. I mean, we have to have him.
Leads
gotta
the team
get
on tackles and interceptions.
We got to get pressure on Howard. I mean, if they have a comfortable running game and Howard's able to just relax in the pocket, we can't have that. You said he had 4 fumbles last week.
4 fumbles.
We need to get in this guy's head, get the crowd in his head, and just kind of freak this kid out.
And both of these guys have similar builds. I mean, they're both 6'1", and then Nick Mullins has 2 pounds on the freshman quarterback in Howard. So it's a similar kind of gameplay for them. But when we come back, we'll get into the North Texas side of things as we take you up to this matchup this afternoon here at Apogee Stadium on Mean Green Game Day. In just a little over an hour from now, North Texas will take on Southern Miss here at Apogee Stadium. Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. And guys, I want to get into this real fast. North Texas is going to have to really put on a show tonight against the Golden Eagles. Who are 2 of their keys, Drake? We'll start with you. Who are 2 key players for North Texas tonight as they take on the Golden Eagles here at Apogee?
Well, we mentioned 2 of them early in the broadcast. I'm going to go back to both of them. Willie Ivory stepping into Jeffrey Wilson. He's really got to put on a game. He's got to play his style game, as Travis mentioned. You know, not necessarily just be Jeffrey Wilson. He's got to play the way he plays, but they're definitely going to have to lean on him to get things done. And also with Alec Morris, you know, it reminds me of someone here on the desk with us. Alec playing in his last game, possibly. You know, here at UNT, like this will be his last game. He's going to play as great as he can, just like Travis is trying as good as he can, or as well as he can to have a good broadcast here. You know, he's got to play well. I mean, it's your last chance, it's your last show. You know,
they've got similar builds too.
I mean,
similar.
He
Alec
weighs
Morris,
about 60 pounds.
Maybe didn't start off, as good as well at the beginning of the season.
What are you trying to say, Drake?
But Travis may not have started as well either. But at this point, Travis has picked up his game, and I think it's the same thing for Alec Morris out of the field.
I like it.
Well, I was up till 3 o'clock last night working on notes. I hope Alec Morris was up till 3 o'clock working on his passing game, if that's what you're trying to say.
I think he was.
To get back on the Southern Miss side of things, I think
I
found my stat from last segment talking about turnovers.
Your fun fact?
All right, I have 2 fun facts then.
Really? Wow.
Too much fun.
So really quick on the turnovers. Southern Miss this year has 34 points off turnovers. Opponents 90.
Wow.
That's almost 3 times as much. If we can get the stats checked on this.
Some good
Eric
math,
Jenkins,
Josh.
2 pick sixes this year. Maybe that'll come into play.
Come into play. I know this was kind of cool. I thought Southern Miss in 2011 they won 12 games. They beat Kevin Sumlin at Houston in that Conference USA title game.
Okay.
Very next year they lost 12 games. I just thought that was kind of cool. Doesn't add a lot to the matchup, but
Yeah.
it's a cool fact.
That's a fun little fact.
Okay then. Well, My player to watch isn't necessarily a player. That is offensive coordinator Graham Harrell.
Okay.
I think this is one of the biggest games he's had so far as when he's been on his coaching staff here at North Texas. He doesn't have a starting quarterback. He doesn't have a starting running back. And so he's got to call plays that will work for those guys. You can't call the same plays for different guys. I mean, Texas found that out the hard way when they tried running the zone option with Colt McCoy like they did with Vince Young. You can't do that. I think Graham Harrell needs to figure out what Alec Morris likes, which we found out is not a deep ball.
Yeah.
He needs to find out what Willie Ivory likes to run. And if he can do that, if he can capitalize on what the Southern Miss defense has given him, he can be, my opinion, the MVP of this game.
And it's tough because we want them to open up the offense more, but it's just so hard to open up the offense when you've lost your two best guys on quarterback and running back. So we just want that playbook expanded, but we can't have it right now.
And the senior leadership is really going to play a huge role if you're Alec Morris. I mean, a lot of these guys like him as a player and as a person as well off the field. And there's one guy up here that I like as a person as well, and that's Travis Buckner. It's actually your final show with us at Mean Green Game Day, and we have a little bit of a video for you.
No.
The best of Travis throughout his time at NTTV. We'll show you that real fast.
All right, my name is Travis Buckner, and I'm trying out Sports Zone. And I love sports because I played sports all throughout high school, and I realized at a pretty young age I was too small to ever play professionally, so I figured I might as well get into talking about it because I love to talk about it.
Travis Buckner, Jordan Pryor, welcome to the panel.
Good to be here. Because, I mean, what's something everybody knows about Peyton Manning from last year is him saying Omaha. Like you said, it's football season. Everything is finally right with the world again. I am so excited for this football season. I just wanted to say, thanks, Meat Joe.
You're good.
But then, Keyshawn McClain,
There you
another player of the week from last week. You know, I'm very optimistic. I know y'all said 5-7. Well, just take the opposite of that. I'm going 7-5. I'm saying UNC first year of Seth Luttrell winning season. Y'all know I like to eat grass before every game, and Texas has the greenest and most nutritional grass in the state. I'm buying. I say as
Travis is just
but
throwing the cash
it's
around today.
Hey, I got my paycheck this week, right?
Steve Young,
Do you know what BYU stands for?
Brigham Young
Okay.
University.
Okay. If you didn't, I was gonna tell you get out of here. I did all kinds of big things down there in Texas, and I like to drive my Lincolns with that movie We Are, Marshall. True. Mason Fine, I'm predicting, is gonna have his best game of the season. So.
Oh no.
Oh, here it comes.
Here he goes.
Oh, there it is.
Here he goes.
North Texas. So Travis, it's not a whole lot, but we wanted to thank you for everything you've done for this show. It would not have been a thing or at all without you. You've done a lot of work for us, and we cannot thank you enough. And your optimism, especially, is going to be missed throughout our crew entirely.
Well, I really appreciate it. I don't know where you found that footage. It should be deleted. But I want to thank you guys for letting me be on the show. Everybody back in the truck, all the directors, Hunter, Adam, Braden. This is one of the best shows I've been a part of. I'm really gonna miss you guys next year when I'm not here. God, I love you guys. I'm so glad we got this show going. I know we're all gonna do big things one year, or eventually in the future. 1 year. But we're always gonna have this show to look back on. I really appreciate y'all making that little package for me. It means a lot.
But we love Travis, of course, and you're not done just yet. We got a prediction segment with our special guest, Wren Baker, coming up in just a little bit after the break here on Mean Green Game Day. Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day live outside Apogee Stadium. It's our final segment here this football season. We would like to thank Athletic Director Wren Baker to our desk. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. I've got a chance to watch the shows this year, and you guys have brought some entertainment value to get to our game day experience. So glad that you took initiative and done this, and I hope it's a tradition that continues on.
And we've had a lot of fun with it throughout the year, and it wouldn't have been a thing without you guys in the athletic department really getting on board and helping us out there. So we'd like to thank you again for that. But I want to get your opinion real fast before we get into these predictions. How do you see North Texas doing this year, and what is your opinion on the season so far?
Well, listen, I think as an athletic director, as an administrator, you really have to focus and watch the process. And I've loved the process that the players and coaches have went through this year. I think we've gotten better throughout the year. Now, the last couple of weeks, we've had our two toughest opponents in terms of talent, certainly in conference. And we've been a little banged up, a little injured. But I think these last 2 weeks we've got momentum. We've had a great week of practice. I'm really thrilled with the job that they're doing. Coach Luttrell is doing an amazing job. Recruiting's going well. So I'm excited about the future, excited about this season, and looking forward to hopefully getting this one behind us today with a win. And
that would be
trying
huge.
To get to a bowl game.
That would be awesome. And let's go ahead and get into this, starting with an SEC matchup. Ole Miss at Vanderbilt in Tennessee. I have Ole Miss and the Rebels pulling this one out. What you got, Drake?
I'm going to have to go with Ole Miss as well. They're playing real well. I haven't had the best of seasons, but they are playing well right now. That win over A&M really turned some stuff around for them. I think Ole Miss is going to pull out the victory.
We're going in order here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, already.
I think Vanderbilt's been up and down. They've had some good games and not so good games. Ole Miss, tremendously talented, had a lot of distractions throughout the year, but I like them to win today.
All right.
Ole Miss, Shea Patterson, what he did against A&M the second half, I think that momentum building in. Vanderbilt's a good team, though. They've had a lot of close games. Almost beat Auburn a couple weeks ago. Watch out for the Commodores, but Ole Miss wins the game.
I've got Ole Miss going into this one. I know they got some quarterback controversy. Chad Morris had a little maybe drug problem that's being investigated right now.
Okay.
But as long as they shut that out, they just focus on the game, then I think Ole Miss can pull this one out.
And then now here's an interesting one. The Pac-12, Arizona at Oregon State. These two programs traditionally very good in terms of football. This year they're both 2-8, struggling. It's the Pac-12 matchup. That's why we picked it, because it's after this game.
Right.
So Arizona at Oregon State. I have the Beavers pulling that one out, mostly because of one of their wide receivers, Hunter Jarman, who went to my high school. So that's the only reason I really picked Oregon State there.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. I mean, it's the battle of, two not-so-hot teams, but I think Oregon State, them being home really helps them out in games like this. So I think Oregon State comes out with victory.
Well, you got two bad teams. Not sure what they got left to play for at this time of the year, but and most of the time I'd go with the home team. But I think Rich Rodriguez is a good football coach. I'm going to go with Arizona.
Okay.
Well, in the pillow fight matchup of the week, I'm going to take the Beavers. I like their helmets. I think Oregon State wins the game at home.
I think this is the best matchup we've had in the pick category this year. I just got to go with the home team. They're both 2-8. Nobody wins this game, really, so I'm going with Oregon State.
And you can really tell we were low. We had a very, very minimal chance, or I guess pool to pick from in terms of picking and predicting this week. Because now we go to Tulsa at UCF. I like UCF a lot. They were winless last year, but they've really turned their program around. Another good friend of mine plays for them, Christian Beard. I'm picking UCF to pull this one out.
I'm going to have to take Tulsa to pull
Okay.
it out. Actually, Tulsa's got a little bit of a better record. I think they've got a little bit more momentum going with them. I think I like Tulsa in this game.
Philip Montgomery as well, a former Texas college football coach as well.
Well, listen, both of these teams have hot young coaches. Both of them have gotten a whole lot better this year. Tulsa, a couple of bad calls away from being 9-1 instead of 7-3. Scott Frost, both those guys are rumored about a lot of jobs right now. So, there's distractions there, but I'm going to go with Tulsa to upset on the road.
It's a good pick. I like Dane Evans in this game. Central Florida's offense isn't quite where Scott Frost wants it yet. I think it will be there in time, but Dane Evans and Tulsa win today.
I think Tulsa's been the better team between these two all season long. I mean, UCF's had its problems, and Tulsa has too, but Tulsa's managed to come through in clutch games. And so I see Tulsa pulling this one out.
And now we finally move on to a heavyweight matchup. Oklahoma at West Virginia. We talked about it earlier. The Big 12 is not as well respected as it once was, and both of these teams are really fighting for that spot to pull out the conference championship. I have OU going on the road in Morgantown and pulling out a victory tonight. Who you got, Drake?
Well, I think these guys were wrong earlier when they were saying such disrespect to West Virginia. What has West Virginia done to be ranked high? Yes, they beat a struggling Texas team.
By 4.
They beat some struggling Big 12 teams. There's nothing that they really have made a statement on, and this is their chance. But I think Oklahoma's a better all-around team. I think OU gets this victory. I think they proved that the College Football Playoff Committee knows what they're talking about.
Listen, West Virginia has a good team this year. Now, you misspoke earlier. You said that they beat Oklahoma State. They lost to Oklahoma State.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I couldn't let that
You're
go.
right. You're right. That's my bad.
And I think at this time of the year, it's hard to bet against the Sooners. They've somehow played their best ball down the stretch and win the Big 12 championship, it seems like, every year. So I'm going to go with OU.
All right.
All year long, I've been really high on OU. I've liked their team. I really like Baker Mayfield. They don't have a defense. The last time they went on the road, they gave up 850 yards to Texas Tech, whatever that game was. I think West Virginia, the run defense really impressed me last week with Foreman. Second half, Foreman didn't do anything. I think they can shut down OU's backs in Morgantown. Don't forget that 2007 Fiesta Bowl. West Virginia wins the game. Or 2008, West Virginia wins.
One of those.
Not so fast, Blue Tie. I've got OU pulling this one out. I think they got too many weapons. I mean, they got two of the best backs in the Big 12 with Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine. And you got Baker Mayfield, who some say should be in the Heisman race, and his biggest weapon in D.D. Westbrook. So I think they just got too many things that can hurt you with to lose this game.
I think D.D. Westbrook's a dark horse Heisman candidate. We talked about that a little bit ago. But now it's to the big one. North Texas and Southern Miss tonight at Apogee Stadium. The Southern Miss Golden Eagles coming in 5-5, looking for bowl eligibility. And on the other side, North Texas needs to win both of their last games to get in as well to bowl eligibility standings. So it's a big matchup for both of these squads tonight. North Texas playing without potentially Mason Fine, definitely playing without Jeffrey Wilson. I think Alec Morris, we've talked about him throughout the entire broadcast. I think he has a huge game tonight. Shows us what he's really made of. No pressure on him really in terms of individual play. I think North Texas matches up well, and I think they'll pull out a victory tonight on senior night for North Texas in a victory over Southern Miss.
Yeah, senior night, they need it. There's a postseason available. We're going with the mean green. I'm going back to the flag.
That's the first time you've pulled that out since week one.
Week one, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. I believe it.
Well, I mentioned earlier, we've had tough opponents the last couple of weeks, the two best teams in the league, coaches that have been there a little while, and they're ahead in terms of recruiting. That's where we're going to get to. We come back this week, we're banged up, but we're at home, and I think this is going to be a defensive battle today. But if we can take care of the ball, I think that North Texas is going to win, and we are going to take care of the ball, and I picked the mean green to win.
All right, there you go. Uh-oh.
I don't need these anymore. We had our little stare down last game. I'm going to go with North Texas today.
Okay, all right.
I want to go to a bowl game. North Texas is going to win.
You know, we're without Mason Fine. We're without Jeffrey Wilson. So for the first time, just kidding, I'm not picking against North Texas.
Every week this year,
I'm
Travis.
going mean green once again.
All right.
All right, that's what I'm talking about.
So Scrappy Head is on, and North Texas taking on Southern Miss in just a little over an hour. I want to thank Wren Baker for joining us here at the set once again. Always nice having you around. And your first year here at North Texas, it was our first year as well. I want to thank everyone who helped pull off Mean Green Game Day this season at North Texas Television. We've had the best crew in the world, and I wouldn't have done it without anyone else around us, and I'm sure everybody up here would say the same thing. But that's it for us this week. Let's go Mean Green, get bowl eligible with 2 wins in the next couple of years. Until then, we'll see you next time.